Hey, what's up YouTube? Mike from Mass here, Mass Aquariums, and in today's video I'm going to show you how I set up a nano saltwater aquarium. Very easy with minimal steps, and as you can see here, the aquarium is already set up, and it's been set up for only 2 weeks, and it's already running great with 2 clowns and a cleanup crew and a shrimp. So let's get right into it. 5 easy steps. First, pick your tank size. Now, for beginners, if you're gonna go with a small tank, you have to realize that you have to take care of it, you have to stay on it, you have to stay on your water changes, because with small tanks, little fluctuations tend to show themselves pretty quickly. With a big tank, you can have some fluctuations, and there's a big enough water column that you really won't see any difference. With smaller tanks, you really have to keep an eye on your salinity and keep an eye on your parameters and do water changes frequently. I would suggest small water changes twice a week or 25% water change once a week. So just keep that in mind when you're picking out the size of your aquarium. This is a Nano Reef, 15 gallons. I've been doing this for 40 years, so I kind of know how to take care of the smaller tanks. But if you're a beginner, I would want to start with maybe a 30 gallon or higher, just because it gives you a little leeway when you're making your beginner mistakes, which we've all done. So first thing you want to do is pick your tank size. Once you have that, you want to start buying your equipment, what you're going to run for your tank. Now here are the basics. If this is an all-in-one tank, it's going to come with a return pump and your filter. If you're going to have to add a filter or a sump, you want to go ahead and purchase those. Hang-on back filters and sumps work great. You're going to need a heater, you're going to need a light, and you're going to need a circulation pump. And what I highly recommend is an ATO or an auto top-off. Now, an auto top-off is where you have a reservoir below your tank filled with RODI water, and when the water evaporates and the level goes down, it's going to automatically top it off with RO so that your salinity remains consistent. You don't ever want to top your tank off with salt water. That's going to concentrate your salt water and your salinity is going to rise, and that's very harmful for your corals and your fish. So, auto top off. I don't want to say it's a must-have, because in a small tank you can always go dump a little RO water yourself, but it's a game changer. Get that auto top off for 40 bucks. It's really not that bad. So now you have your tank size, you have your light, you have your heater, you have your filter, or in case of an all-in-one, everything comes with it, and you have a circulation pump right back here, or a wave maker. Those are really my must-haves, and the auto top-off is your basic for your aquarium. Now, you can always add stuff on later, like, algae scraper. This happens to be a nano flipper. You want your net and your tiny little buckets and stuff like that, some tweezers or some long forceps to get down into the tank. Maybe like a little toothbrush or something to scrape algae off in small places, but that's the main equipment you want to have to get yourself started. So once you've got your tank size, which will allow you to know what size equipment you need as far as lights and circulation pumps, if you're going to run a sump, next you want to go buy your rock and your sand. Now, roughly 1.5 inches is probably the best depth for sand bed. It's enough to house beneficial bacteria, but it's not too deep that you're gonna collect a lot of detritus and gas buildup, and when you disturb it, you're gonna just release a whole bunch of stuff in your tank. So I always go with about 1.5 inches, I think, is a perfect depth for your sand bed. Now, what type of sand do you want? I like fine sand because I like the way it looks, but it also can blow around in the tank with your cleanup crew, or if you have some wrasses or gobies that dig in your sand. So you might want sort of more coarse grain sand, or even crushed coral, which is very heavy and it won't blow around your tank. It's all really personal preference. You can go with either of those options and they all work just fine. It's really what you like to look at in your tank. So your sand is in your tank. Now you want to aquascape it, you want to hardscape it with rock. My favorite go-to is Carib Sea Life Rock. It's dry, it's purple. You can get dry rock that's white, or you can go with live rock that's established at your local fish store, which I don't recommend that at all. I would highly disagree with that because you're gonna start off on the wrong foot. Now, while the rock is established, you're going to invite a whole number of pests, bristleworms, bacteria, algae, a whole mess of stuff. You don't want to get started off on that foot when you're a beginner, or if you're just starting your tank. So I recommend Carib Sea Life Rock. There's a few other brands out there I can link in the description that you can order. And go ahead and do yourself a favor and get some cardboard and get the diameter and height and width and dimensions of your tank, and cut yourself a piece of cardboard or plywood so that you can aquascape on top of this. You have your platform, and you know where your tank walls are, and you can go ahead and do a bunch of different aquascapes without gluing anything together or having anything permanently in your tank before you go ahead and place it in your tank. This is great for if you've, say built your aquascape and then you don't like it and you want to take something out. It's a lot easier to do it pre than when it's all wet and covered in corals. Keeping that in mind, when you are aquascaping, you want to make sure, depending on the corals you're going to keep, that you have places to put your corals. You have little shelves. I've glued tons of shelves onto this rockscape where I can perch different corals at different depths for water flow and light penetration. So get yourself some cardboard, or measure it out in tape, say on a workbench or a flat surface. You can also do that. And then I also like to take a tape measure and measure the height so that I can see it. Like, you're not really going to take cardboard and place it at the height all around. You can if you want, but a simple tape measure at, say, this height is 16 inches on this tank, at 16 inches, so get yourself where about you need to be. Now, I aquascaped this whole tank on this piece of cardboard, and as you can see, it came out the way I wanted to, and it fits the tank perfect. It has all the shelves needed for coral, and it gave me a lot of opportunity to spend time while the equipment was coming in the mail to place different rocks here and there, and then really sort of figure out the puzzle that I wanted. And then once that was done, I can glue everything together. You can use acrylic rods. If you have really heavy rocks, you can drill a hole through the rock and drop an acrylic rod through it. That will help stabilize heavy rocks from falling over on top of each other. And then you can use purple putty or green putty, depending on what type of corals you're going to use or what type of look you like. I used purple epoxy putty and super glue. And so you really can't tell that these are multiple rocks put together into one. And then once that algae and that corals fill out, you won't even see where you cemented the things in place, the rocks in place. Now, after you've got that all taken care of, your aquascaping, your equipment's coming in the mail. Once it comes in the mail, you want to dump your sand in and put your rocks in, and you want to get your salt water mixed up. Now, there's nothing alive in the tank, so to speak. I do have Carib Sea live sand, which comes with beneficial bacteria added. So you really don't want to let the sand dry out. So you want to get your water mixing to anywhere from 1.024 to 1.026 is perfect for most of your fish and just about all of your corals. And so while you're filling your tank up with your sand and your rock, you're mixing your salt water because you don't want to let the sand dry out. You will fill up your tank and fire everything up. Fire your return pump, your filter. If you're running a sump, fire that up. Get your heater going and your circulation pump and get that water moving and get it all cleared out. Now, a big tip, I have plenty of videos on this, is I use filter floss, pillow stuffing, polyfilter it's called. You can get a huge bag of it on Amazon, really cheap. That will clarify your water so good. It'll be crystal clear in an hour or less, depending on the size of your tank. If you have a huge tank, it's gonna take a little while. But filter floss 100% will clear the murk from the sand out of your tank, all the fine particles, and you'll be running crystal clear water in no time. It's a lifesaver, this stuff, and it's super cheap. You can replace it with every water change. You can replace it as needed, no problem, without breaking the bank, whereas some more stuff like carbon and polyfilter pads, you know, can get expensive. Now, while we're on that topic, what do I recommend running in a small tank or a big tank? You want to run coarse sponges to collect that big debris, and then you want filter floss to collect the fine particles, and it'll polish and clean your water. And then finally, you want to run some sort of ceramic media to house beneficial bacteria. Now, while the sand and the rock will house your beneficial bacteria, it's important to have some ceramic media or some sort of fine porous rocks in the back of your filtration or your sump to hold on to that beneficial bacteria. That's really important for your tank. Now, you can run carbon if you have impurities or you're dosing and you want to clear the dosing up, but carbon is really your chemical filtration. It'll get rid of anything chemically impure in your tank. The basics, what you need, are sponges, filter floss, and ceramic media. That'll polish and clean your water and house your beneficial bacteria. So those are my three main things I would suggest. So now your tank is up and running, and you've heard the stories and the videos of waiting 3 to 6 weeks to a month to 2 months to 8 weeks to cycle your aquarium. Now, you can let it do that with nothing in your tank, and it's going to take forever. You can dose ammonia that will fire up that beneficial bacteria cycle, because you need to cycle your tank. You need to run through the nitrogen cycle, which is you have ammonia in your tank, and that converts to nitrites, which convert to nitrates, and then you want a low amount of nitrates in your tank. When you have 0 ammonia and 0 nitrate, that's when your tank is cycled. Now, I don't like to wait that long, and I'm sure you don't either, especially if you're a beginner, you're excited, you want to get moving on this. I use a beneficial bacteria from Fritz. You can use Chem Stability. You can use Dr. Tim's One and Only. I believe Brightwell has one too. It's live beneficial bacteria that you add to your tank to jumpstart your cycle. Now, I'll start that on day 1, and then day 2 through 4, I'll add a small amount of fish. Now, I really don't care how big your tank or how small your tank is. You just want to add 1 to 2 fish, say a pair of clowns, and then daily dose your tank with that beneficial bacteria. This will slowly jumpstart your nitrogen cycle and get everything going really well. Now, I've been doing this for a long time. This tank's only 2 weeks old, and it already has corals in it, and it already has life in it, and the parameters are already great. That's because of the beneficial bacteria. You cannot skip that step. You can let it run fallow for a long time, but if you want to add your fish right away, you need to use that beneficial bacteria. I have plenty of videos on the nitrogen cycle and using beneficial bacteria. I will link all the important videos in the description on each step that I'm teaching you in this video. So you've got your fish added, you've got your beneficial bacteria going, and now you want to add some corals. Now, this is where all your research came in from your aquascaping. What corals are high light, high flow, medium to medium flow, on the bottom of the tank where you get bare minimum light, half shade, half light, and very low flow. You want to research this all ahead of time. Trust me, don't just go willy-nilly buying coral and then figuring out later. You'll spend lots of money to kill a lot of corals. You want to research where they're going to go in your tank and what light intensity they need. This is a very important part. I still do this to the day. I just researched an hour ago a bunch of different soft corals that I want to put in the tank, and where in the tank I would prefer to put them, and if the care is correct. Some of them were no, I had to pull them out of my cart. Some of them were perfect, I've ordered them, they'll be here next week. So, now, the job is done. You've got your tank set up, you've got some life in there. Slowly add your life, slowly add fish. Look up how many fish is good for what size gallon you have, what size gallon tank you have. Now, all that's left to do is do your water changes. If you have a bigger tank, you might not have to do water changes as often. You might only need to do them once a month or once every 6 weeks if you have a 40, 50, 125 gallon tank. The water parameters can shift a little bit here and there and you're not going to notice anything. Now, if you have a small tank like this, 15 gallons, 10, 15, 20 gallon tank, you want to do frequent water changes. That'll keep your corals happy, that'll keep your parameters stable. I recommend doing two small water changes a week, and by small I mean you can just take a cup, a couple cups, a little pitcher, take 2 out, put 2 in. You know, simple as that. You don't even need to heat the water, it's so small. Or in my case, what I like to do is 1 water change a week. I take about 25% of the water out, and then I put heated salt water back in, and that keeps my parameters stable. Now, I just said this tank's only 2 weeks old. I've kept nano reef tanks for 15 years now. I've kept bigger reef tanks. I'm telling you the basics from what I've learned. Now, this is just advice. You go and do whatever you want. You can learn the hard way. You can take my word for it. If you have a smaller tank, you want to do frequent water changes. You can do a small water change every day if you want. You know, you can take 8 cups out and put 8 cups back in. A gallon out, a gallon back in. And if that works for your tank and your corals and your fish are happy, you keep doing that. The name of the game is consistency. You want to be consistent. If you're doing water changes once a week, say on a Sunday morning, keep doing water changes once a week on that Sunday morning. Don't skip a few. That's when your parameters get out of whack, and that's when bad things start to happen, and it can spiral out of control quickly. So that's my spiel. I hope you all get some good use out of this video. I've done a lot of these how to set up videos. This is my first one. Really getting it all done in one shot on how to set up a nano tank, but as you can see, the tank looks great, the fish are happy, the corals are happy, and it's all about doing it easy for yourself, keeping it easy for consistent maintenance, and keeping it consistent. And you too can have a beautiful tank. Trust me, you can do this. So this is Mike from Mass. I'll post all the links to my videos with all the directions in the description. And I hope your tank comes out great. I'm out.